All right, today we're going to talk about something really serious, the tragic fire at Karachi's Gull Plaza. Now, this wasn't just a fire, you see. It was an event that really pulled back the curtain on some deep, deep problems in a city's infrastructure and the heartbreaking human cost of that failure.
So to really get a handle on what happened here, we can't just start with the flames or the building. We've got to start with the people. Behind all the smoke and the statistics, there are these gut-wrenching stories of loss and desperation.
Just listen to this. It's the last message from Dr. Aisha, who is trapped inside while on a call with her family. She was a doctor just out shopping for her upcoming wedding. Her voice was one of many lost that night, and it's just this haunting reminder of the absolute terror people were feeling inside that building.
The official number right off the bat was just devastating. At least 6 people lost their lives. And among them was a firefighter, Furqan, a husband and a father, who gave his own life trying to save others from that blaze.
And it wasn't just the lives lost. On top of that, 28 people were injured. You have to imagine the chaos, people just scrambling to get out, trying to escape that suffocating smoke and intense heat. Their lives are never going to be the same after a night like that.
But you know what might be the worst part? The not knowing. In those first few hours and days, 58 people were unaccounted for. Can you even imagine that? Being one of those families just gathered outside, desperately waiting for any news, holding on to this tiny sliver of hope that, for many, would never come true.
Okay, so let's shift gears and look at the fire itself. How did this thing get so out of control? Because this wasn't just a fire. This was basically a multi-day siege that brought a whole part of the city to its knees.
Just look at this timeline. It's wild. The fire breaks out a little after 10 p.m. Fast forward almost a full day, 20 hours later, and it's still burning. Even at the 22-hour mark, officials are saying, oh, it's 75% contained, but it was still raging. This wasn't some quick incident. It was a long, brutal
So you've got to ask, why was this fire so unbelievably intense? Well, the plaza was basically a giant tinderbox. You've got over 1,200 shops crammed together, stuffed with everything flammable you can think of. Perfumes, chemicals, clothing, electronics. But here's the real kicker. The building's design was a total disaster. No ventilation, no windows. So all that heat and toxic smoke had nowhere to go. It just turned the whole structure into a deadly furnace.
So while this inferno is raging inside the building, a whole different kind of firestorm is starting on the ground. A huge controversy about the truth of the rescue effort, which, believe me, got political and ugly fast.
And this right here, this is where the story gets really murky. You've got two completely different versions of events. The official account says, hey, we were there in 11 minutes, super fast response. But then you talk to the shopkeepers, the people who lost everything, and they tell a totally different story. They say they waited for a grueling hour and a half, watching their livelihoods just turn to ash.
And the way the politicians responded, it just poured gasoline on the fire. You had the mayor showing up 13 hours late. One minister actually suggested that, citizens are responsible for their own safety. Can you believe that? Another one defended the mayor's absence by saying their job was to fight fires, not do photo sessions. A comment that just sparked outrage.
All right, let's pull back for a second, because this fire wasn't just some random accident. It was really a symptom of these huge systemic failures across the entire city, failures that pretty much made a disaster like this inevitable.
So this is the big question, right? Was this a freak accident, or was this a catastrophe that everyone should have seen coming? Well, when you look at the evidence, the answer is a big, resounding yes. This disaster wasn't just preventable, it was predictable.
I mean, the Gull Plaza itself was a complete death trap. Think about this, a massive commercial center with over 1,000 shops, yet it had no fire alarms and no fire extinguishers. It seems like no one had ever inspected it, or if they had, no one had bothered to enforce even the most basic safety rules. But here's the thing, it wasn't just this one building. The problem is citywide. Consider this, Karachi is a megacity of 30 million people. For all those people, there are only 26 fire stations and 43 fire trucks. The lack of infrastructure is just staggering and dangerously inadequate for a city this size.
And it's not like this is a new problem. This wasn't some isolated event. It was just the latest and one of the deadliest in a year that had already seen over 2,600 fires in the city. The warning signs have been there again and again, yet little seems to change.
So the fire was eventually put out, but the aftermath lingers. What is the true cost of this failure, and what happens now for a community that has lost so much?
The economic devastation is just immense, with losses estimated at 3 billion rupees. And for hundreds of families, this wasn't just inventory in a shop. It was their life savings, their kids' future, everything just gone up in smoke.
So, in the wake of this tragedy, the demands from the community are clear and direct. They want accountability through a full investigation. They need support with a financial relief package. And they demand prevention, calling for mandatory fire safety audits of all commercial buildings to make sure this never happens again.
And that leaves us with the most important question of all. This is what you should really take away from this. After thousands of fires, after so many lives lost and livelihoods destroyed, will this immense tragedy finally be the catalyst for the systemic reform that Karachi so desperately needs? Or will it just become another forgotten statistic?